Everyone needs well-being, good relationship and companionship, good health, financial stability. Everyone needs true wellness.
This is another Tuesday, and you know Tuesdays for us is always a good day.
Stay hooked on the True Word Television every Tuesday
Welcome again to the True Wellness Connections.
at 5:30 p.m. Winnipeg or Central Time to join Claudine Cintije
That heartbreaking situation that you are in right now, it is just for a moment.
Elizabeth Brimoh,
Know your do's and don'ts, then know the area you want to work on.
and many more well-equipped panelists
Because I never see anybody that waited upon the Lord and God put to shame.
to be educated,
When you study, don't study only for one day in a week and think you've arrived.
equipped,
No one can ever be perfect.
Nobody.
And no one can get it right all the time. We can all mess up.
sharpened,
To be a relaxed woman is more powerful than a talkative.
and empowered towards your true wellness.
You can change yourself. You can change how you see things.
From parenting, educating, health, finances,
When you are facing one issue or the other, the whole of you is involved.
relationships,
Every human being will face situations that they were not expecting.
spiritual,
Jesus said to his disciples, in this world you will have tribulation, so be of good courage.
and day-to-day life matters.
Everything is all about life.
They cut across all topics to make sure you reach the goal of being well.
We talk about homes, education, we talk about children, we talk about marriage.
Different topics, different guests.
If we must deal with challenges and vulnerabilities, especially vulnerabilities, we have to deal with pain.
The True Wellness Connections, every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. Winnipeg or Central Time with Claudine Cintije and Elizabeth Brimoh
We will be glad to have you with us.
on the True Word Television. Don't dare miss an episode. This program is proudly brought to you by Nefertiti 24K Gold Soap. Jabari Design Watches. And Nefertari Beauty. Everyone needs well-being, good relationship and companionship, good health, financial stability. Everyone needs true wellness.
This is another Tuesday, and you know Tuesdays for us is always a good day.
Stay hooked on the True Word Television every Tuesday
Welcome again to the True Wellness Connections.
at 5:30 p.m. Winnipeg or Central Time to join Claudine Cintije
That heartbreaking situation that you are in right now, it is just for a moment.
Elizabeth Brimoh,
Know your do's and don'ts, then know the area you want to work on.
and many more well-equipped panelists
Because I never see anybody that waited upon the Lord and God put to shame.
to be educated,
When you study, don't study only for one day in a week and think you've arrived.
equipped,
No one can ever be perfect.
Nobody.
And no one can get it right all the time. We can all mess up.
sharpened,
To be a relaxed woman is more powerful than a talkative.
and empowered towards your true wellness.
You can change yourself. You can change how you see things.
From parenting, educating, health, finances,
When you are facing one issue or the other, the whole of you is involved.
relationships,
Every human being will face situations that they were not expecting.
Spiritual.
Jesus said to his disciples, in this world you will have tribulation, so be of good courage.
And day-to-day life matters.
Everything is all about life.
They cut across all topics to make sure you reach the goal of being well.
We talk about homes, education, we talk about children, we talk about marriage.
Different topics, different guests.
If we must deal with challenges and vulnerabilities, especially vulnerabilities, we have to deal with pain.
The True Wellness Connections, every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m., Winnipeg or Central Time, with Claudine Cintije and Elizabeth Brimoh.
We would be glad to have you with us
On the True Word Television. Don't dare miss an episode.
Hello everyone, good evening again. Welcome to the True Wellness Connections. My name is Claudine Cintije. I'm so happy and excited to join you again. As you know, every Tuesday we are always excited to be in this place so that we can be able to share our wisdom, to be able to share things that we think can be very helpful in our community, in your life, and in our own life individually. So you are going to be happy with the topic that we have today that is yet to be discovered. So I'm not alone in the studio. Let me introduce my co-host. I'm just going to invite her to just introduce herself.
Hello everyone, it's my pleasure to be with you this evening. How are you all doing? We are so happy to have you join us again. This is the True Wellness Connection, and Tuesday is always a good day for us. So we want moms to call on their husbands, dads call on your wife, and call your children. Want everybody to sit by their television, and you know what, we will appreciate it if you can like, love, comment, ask us questions. We'll be happy to answer you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brimoh. And so our topic today is, talk to a therapist. So we have a therapist in-house as our special guest today. We are going to discover what is a therapist. We always want to learn and grow as a community, learn things that can be helpful in our everyday life. Remember, life is a journey that we always have to be prepared on how to face life challenges that may come here and there. We thought understanding therapists would be very important for you. So let's all discover together who is that special guest that we have today on True Wellness Connection. So hang on there.
Counseling. Oh yeah, yet counseling. Do I really need counseling? In which area of my life? Well, then come and find out tonight on the True Wellness Connections, where Claudine Cintije and Elizabeth Brimoh are hosting for you Leslie Hackett. Leslie Hackett was born and raised in Winnipeg. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist. She earned a master's degree in marriage and family therapy from the University of Winnipeg in 2014. She has worked at Pluriel, St. Boniface Health Center, and The Link, and is currently in full-time private practice since 2021. She is a service provider with the Manitoba Blue Cross Employee Assistance Program and the Renaissance Center, which provides counseling services to students at St. Boniface University. She is also a clinical supervisor at Community Wellness Center, where University of Winnipeg marriage and family therapy students complete their practicum. Her work in the community includes co-facilitating Project HEAL, a group program to educate Black Winnipeggers about mental health and to discuss Black identity issues and their intersection with mental health. You are so privileged to have her in your living room and your space anywhere you are to listen more about all this. Stay tuned as we get all counseled tonight. This program is proudly brought to you by Nefertiti 24K Gold Soap, Jabari Design Watches, and Nefertari Beauty.
All right. right. I think and I believe you all have seen how very loaded is our guest today. So we're just going to give her an opportunity to just introduce herself and send a greeting to our viewers today. We are so happy and excited to have you, and thank you for accepting our invitation today.
That's right.
Claudine and Elizabeth, thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk with both of you and share a little bit about my experience and give some information. Hopefully it's helpful, and I'm happy to. I'm also really curious to see what questions and comments your viewers have. So
That's right.
Yeah, again, thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, Leslie. We are so happy to have you, and I would suggest everyone who are watching us today, if you can share this link with your friend, they are going to be blessed to just have a kind of free counseling, like today I would say that, because you will hear what you need to do in the future should you face any situation that you really need a help in one way or another. So we are going to now, what we want to know, Leslie, you know, therapy is something that has been neglected by many people. They don't understand if we need a therapist or not. But the truth is, life is full of challenges, and most of the time when we are going through challenges, we don't even know how to handle ourselves. Sometimes we say, oh, we are going to pray, and I'm going to call my pastor, is going to pray for me. But there are situations whereby you really need to say, can I speak to somebody? Am I crazy? What is going on? It looks like I don't get it all. Why is this happening to me? Why children are not listening to me? Why am I going through this in my marriage? What is really going on? Because our mind also can get tired, can get overwhelmed.
That's right.
So, would you please tell us, why do you think people will need to consult a therapist in one way or another?
Yes. Well, you're absolutely right that we all have challenges in life, no matter kind of what our situation, what our background, or what our life stage or life development stage. We all face challenges. That's natural. That's typical. That's normal, and also that doesn't mean that we're crazy. I think that anything associated with therapy or anything to do with mental health, I think it can scare people. And I think that people are worried that if they seek help, if they reach out for help, or if they acknowledge that they're feeling maybe overwhelmed, that means that they're crazy. That means that they can't cope. It means that there's something permanently wrong. It means, and might also be worried what other people are going to think about them if they knew about it. And so I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people hesitate to reach out for help. And which is sad, because if we don't acknowledge to ourselves that we need help, and then if we don't maybe ask for and allow ourselves to receive help, we can end up feeling really isolated and cut off from each other, cut off from other people, and that doesn't help us deal with stress. So I think it's important to acknowledge that we're all human, we all have problems, we all have challenges, and to reach out to someone you can connect with, someone you can trust, and also connect with a therapist or a counselor, because that can really help give us some perspective on how to cope with our problems, and maybe things that we can do to change our problems, find a solution.
Just to back up a question. My question is quite similar, but I'm talking on behalf of lots of people. As a Christian that goes to church, that prays, do Christians need a therapist?
Yes, I think you said the question was very simple. I think the answer can be very simple too. I think anybody from any faith, even somebody who has a really strong connection with God and who finds a lot of peace in practicing their faith, can still benefit from talking to a therapist, because
Beautiful.
it's helpful to get some direct feedback from somebody who is not involved in your situation, doesn't have the same emotional connection to the challenge or the problem that you are dealing with, and can also challenge you. Therapy can be a really helpful place to get some to get an alternative perspective that maybe we hadn't considered before, and to have some of our assumptions and beliefs challenged, because those can sometimes make it difficult for us to see our situation clearly. So I think anybody can be helped in therapy, and therapy does not have to mean that it's not a replacement for worshiping.
That's right.
It's not a replacement for prayer. It's something that you can do alongside of all of the other healthy things that help you cope with stress, including prayer, time with family, exercise, talking with friends, whatever is healthy and helpful for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Would you please be able to give us an example of which area would you say that a therapy is suggested? Because we see so many things that happens to the life of many in our community, whereby I think sometimes people, they are handling things on their own, where they get to the point whereby sometimes they lack the wisdom, and then they make the decision that they may, regret later. So in order to be preventive, because what we just want to make sure to be able to acknowledge, to realize that at this point of time, I think I need help.
Yeah.
What would be an example of when somebody would really go to seek for help? You can just give like 2 or 3 examples.
I think anytime you find yourself stuck in a conflict where you can't figure out how to resolve it, you're in conflict with someone else or conflict within yourself, you want to make a decision, and it's really causing you a lot of stress because you don't know what is the right choice. Those are situations where consulting with a therapist might be helpful. And also definitely situations where you feel overwhelmed by stress, by intense emotions. If you're dealing with trauma symptoms, for example, anytime you're overwhelmed by emotions that kind of prevent you from functioning and prevent you from relating to people in a stable way, therapy could be helpful in that situation.
Okay. Thank you so much. We have some people sometimes when they go through things, because everything starts in our mind. Our mind, as the Bible calls it, the battlefield, like everything begins in our mind. Things happen, life events happen in our life, then we get to the point whereby we start to act weird or do things that is really not normal. So, do you think when you start to see that your action in your house, let's talk about in marriage area, because that's where your specialty is, and there are so many marriages that are breaking down in our communities. Do you think marriage, just from your own experience or from other counseling you have done in the past, do you think marriage just, you go to bed, you wake up in the morning, and boom, the marriage is over?
I wouldn't say that things usually happen that quickly. I think it's interesting. The state, like when I'm dealing with couples, sometimes the couples are least likely to come in when things are going well, like at the start of the relationship.
That's right.
Some couples come in when they start to experience some challenges. Typically, they'll notice that they like there's a particular issue that they seem to feel really stuck in and can't find a solution, can't agree. The saddest thing, I think, is when couples come in and they've been stuck in that issue for years and years and years. And it's like they feel like they're having the same argument over and over and over again. And because that has caused so much conflict over the years, it's put so much stress and pressure on the marriage over years and years and years, that it really begins to affect the emotional connection that they once had. They don't have that anymore. They might feel like that they might feel like it's hopeless, and they might start to feel really disconnected because they don't even see any point in trying to resolve the issue anymore. And it's really unfortunate when couples wait that long to come in, because then it's so much harder to make changes when they've been stuck in that pattern for such a long time. And also there can be years and years and years of kind of hurt feelings that have built up, and emotional injuries that have hurt the relationship, have hurt the marriage, that it can be very difficult to repair that. It can be difficult to create a new kind of emotional connection and then figure out how to stay out of that pattern. But you know, that's what I would try to work on. That's what I would try to work on in that situation. And you know, sometimes people come in even after they've been having problems for years in their marriage, but something just happens and they're ready to make a change. They realize, you know, I don't want to lose this relationship. I can't live like this anymore. We have to change. I'm ready to change. And in that case, then they can really make some progress, and it can be really, it can really make a positive difference. And for other couples, it might just be figuring out, okay, we're never going to agree on this issue. We can't really repair or recreate the intimate connection that we used to have. But for whatever reason, maybe for our kids or for other reasons, we're going to stay together and just find a way to coexist and live in the same house and keep going. And for other couples, they decide, okay, this is not salvageable. I don't want to move. I don't want to stay in this relationship. And my work with them is then to figure out, okay, how do you want to separate, and how do you do that with as little damage as possible? So it could go either way.
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. What a topic. So, from what I'm hearing, so it's very suggested that whenever you start to see some red flag in your marriage, you start to see that emotionally you are no longer connected the way you used to do. There is something that is going on deep inside. So the therapist's job is to help you dig down the roots to know where did the problem start, what caused this issue, and how can you resolve it. So, and that's why we say it's good to hear from a profession to understand our marriage does not get destroyed overnight. The moment you begin to see that you're not emotionally connected with your wife or your husband, you start to separate room. Maybe you're no longer intimate as frequent as you used to be. You're going to begin to say, honey, I think we need the help here. But in a couple, I think one person have to be a bigger person, you know. From your own experience, who has been a bigger person in coming to seek for help in a marriage? Because we want to discover why people are delaying, and to see, because it costs a lot. We see a lot of wedding taking place in our community. People going to pay dowry. A lot of expenses are involved in a marriage. Does anybody really get married for tomorrow to be divorcing, to be separating, to be going through those things? So what would you suggest to couples to do in their marriage, especially those people who are young in the marriage, those who are still clean and pure in their marriage? What would you advise to them to watch out? And when do you think they can start to go seek for or therapist or counseling?
Right. What I would encourage younger couples to do, or couples who are just starting out, is to really notice if they have that personal habit, and it might be both people doing this or just one person tending to do this. If they have the habit of keeping things to themselves if something's bothering them. I think I do this myself, so I know what that experience is like. But some people are really reluctant to speak up if something's bothering them.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just kind of stuff it down. They don't know. They might be uncomfortable saying something, or they don't know how to say it, or they're afraid that the other person is going to be mad or upset, or is not going to take them seriously. And so, over time, things build up, and then they just keep more and more things. They just try to suppress things. They try to, just keep it quiet. But that resentment and that anger and the frustration can build up. And, sometimes that might, it might explode, and they might have a big argument, a big fight, and then they may resolve it. If everything comes out in the open, they might get to a solution. Or it might just be a big fight, and then they go on and pretend like nothing happened, or they can't resolve it, so they just kind of forget about it eventually. But that's really that's a really common pattern in relationships, where people will keep things to themselves to a certain point, and then it explodes in all this frustration. So I encourage people to communicate with each other on a regular basis. If there's something that you want your partner to know, say so. If your partner said or did something that bothered you, it's okay to let them know. It's okay to say, when we were out for dinner with our friends last night, and you said this to me about my job or whatever it is, that made me feel, that hurt me. That hurt my feelings. That made me feel embarrassed. That made me wonder if maybe you think that my job isn't good enough, or you think that I don't work hard enough at my job, or something like that. And I didn't like what you said, or I didn't like how you said it. And I think we should all feel comfortable enough with the person that we're married to be able to say something like that.
That's right.
And it's important for the other person to not respond immediately with defensiveness and say, well, you misunderstood what I said, or that's not what I meant, or you're making a big deal out of nothing, or you're too sensitive. It's important to say, to validate.
Yes.
Validation
Yes.
is important, to say, okay, so it sounds like when I said that, that made you feel belittled, that made you feel looked down upon. Well, I can understand why that hurt your feelings, and I'll keep that in mind next time, and I will, I'll be careful. I'll be more careful and more thoughtful next time we're talking about your job. So that's an example of how to express hurt feelings in a non-attacking and non-blaming way, and how to receive that feedback about what you said or did in a way that's not defensive. And I mean, it sounds like that's a really simple example that I gave, but that's actually a really difficult conversation to have.
That's right.
Yeah, because, we don't, when our feelings are hurt, sometimes we might want to lash out and hurt the other person. Or if someone has a complaint about our behavior, about something that we said or did, sometimes we have that response to just immediately want to defend ourselves. And then we don't acknowledge what the other person is feeling.
Okay. Thank you so much. Sister Claudine mentioned something at the beginning. She said, out of both genders, which one have you seen that has taken the leadership role between men and women?
That's a good question. It's not always totally clear. I would say when I'm meeting with couples, overall, when I'm dealing with individual clients, most of my clients are women.
Okay.
When I'm meeting with couples, I would say more often than not, when I'm dealing with heterosexual couples, it's the woman whose idea it was to come into therapy. And sometimes the men are just as willing and just as interested, but it happens to be the woman who thought of it first.
Okay.
Other times, the men are a little bit more reluctant. may not be really used to talking about their feelings. I think in general, in society, whether like kind of regardless of cultural background or where they're from or how old they are, I think men are generally less encouraged to talk about their feelings, and they're less encouraged to ask for help. And so coming to talk to a stranger about your issues and your feelings and your problems might feel extremely uncomfortable for them. And it's also really uncomfortable for a lot of women too. It's not always the women who want to come in and they're dragging their husbands unwillingly. But often, again, just because women are more socialized to talk about feelings, they tend to be the ones who whose idea it is to come in for therapy. And also, I think just because of kind of maybe how gender roles and because of how the division of labor is distributed in the household, women might feel more of the kind of emotional stress in the relationship. And so again, that might be one of the reasons why it might more likely be the woman who wants to come in for therapy.
Okay, thank you. Now I want to ask a question that most people are thinking about, but they may not be able to say it. Now, when you look at Africans or African community as a whole, seeing a therapist is a taboo. They will look at, number one, are you okay? Why are you going to the therapist? Why are you talking to the therapist? So how can we, as a community, gain ground about talking about how useful therapists are in the community?
I think that's a really good question. I would say it's like a challenge that I've noticed in previous places where I was employed, for example, at the St. Boniface Health Center, the Centre de Santé, and working at Pluriel. They really tried to encourage African members of the African community to come in and access the counseling services. But there wasn't, it was kind of a challenge to get people to come in. And I think there are a few reasons for that. I think generally there aren't as many African therapists from the African community of African background, which might help some people feel more comfortable coming to meet with a therapist. And also, as you said, kind of just cultural differences about how therapy is viewed. And it might be viewed as a taboo, or like, again, meaning that the person is crazy, or that if you go see a therapist, you are going to be institutionalized and medicated, and or that if you go to see a therapist, it means that you're going to have to take medication for the rest of your life, even though therapists don't prescribe medication. We're not psychiatrists. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. But so I think that something that can be helpful would be just talking about the idea of reaching out for help and accepting help, to normalize that idea, and to kind of put the message out there, between friends or among family members, that this is something that is available. It's being offered as a way of helping, and it's your choice, and you can share as much or as little as you want with your therapist, and also for people to know that it's confidential. Even if your therapist is from the same community as you, they are professionally obligated to respect ethical practices of confidentiality and privacy. And I think that's really important to keep in mind too, because I think anybody who would want to go to a therapist if you don't believe that they're going to keep your personal information private. Yeah. So I think that's really important for people to know.
Okay. So to support what you just say is exactly what we are doing right now. We are raising awareness,
That's right.
people to know that it is very important to seek for therapists. If you are there, sometimes you feel like you want to just go start drinking alcohol beyond what you used to do, or maybe against your own desire. There is something going on deep down. You're feeling the emotion that you need to have it looked after, because if you try to resolve the issue using alcohol, that is just it's a band-aid, it's a mask, but it will just leading you in the wrong way. And some young people, when they are going through some pain in their own life, a wrong way of coping is just going to go start using those drugs, street drugs, cannabis, whatever you name it. So it's a good idea to say, I don't get it right now. I'm so disappointed in this area. These life circumstances have made me feel like I'm not even worthy of living. When you start to have those negative thoughts going on in your mind about yourself or your environment, that's the time you need to seek for a therapist. As some people, they think that seeking a therapist, that means you are less of strong or anything. Actually, when you can seek a therapist, that means you are very smart and well educated.
That's right.
And know how to care for yourself. It is just not okay to watch your life getting destroyed using your own wisdom that have failed you to begin with. It's so important to get involved, the third person, to help you figure out. Sometimes you get the point whereby when things are happening in your life, you question, am I crazy or he or she's crazy? Between both of you, especially in the couple. When you watch yourself tearing each other apart, you get to wonder, did we ever actually love each other even one day? When those questions begin to come, that is the time you call a therapist. Because a marriage is worth a million, I would say that. But a marriage is not worthy to die for. Nobody should die for another person. You can die, you can try your very best, but my encouragement, don't just depend on your own wisdom. Seek therapists. These people, as you would see the bio for her, she went to a university just to study how she can help you. But you can't just sit down and watch your life being destroyed, watch your marriage being scattered just because of pride or anything. I don't think more likely is the fear of getting your story known, because if you don't want your story to be known now, it will be known when your marriage is on the street. You know, prevention is always better than cure. So what you are trying to protect, it's better to bring it out through your therapist and see how you can get help, because it will cost you so much when you see marriage being destroyed. It will cost you so much that will strongly encourage you to watch out, take care of your relationship. Even though at the beginning of relationship, it's good to take care of it. Watch out. How does one or another one deal with their feeling and their emotions? So other things is that most of the time, the truth is people do not know how to validate other people's feelings. And that's where really problem has come. Imagine you are with your partner. You say, my dear husband, my dear wife, this is exactly how I feel, as you said. It's good to tell your partner how that partner made you feel. Instead of considering your feeling, your expression of feelings, it's because you want that person to take care of how you feel, to make you feel better and comfortable. And when you do that, the person makes you even feel worse and horrible. So what would you tell to the people in our community about feeling an emotion and how their response can actually damage the people around them?
That's a really tricky part of communication and asking for help and knowing how to give help and how to support somebody, because a lot of times, like if somebody's in a really stressful situation, they might be dealing with it in a way that you might not approve of, or you might not agree with. And so it can be hard to kind of to validate what they're feeling, even when you don't agree with how they're handling the situation. So I think it's important to also remember that, again, even if you don't feel the same way as that person, that person's feelings exist whether you agree with them or not. And you having a different opinion is not necessarily going to change how that person feels in the moment. So I think in order to be a good friend and to be a good source of support, it's important to just listen. The person might not want you to give them solutions right away. You know, so you and a friend, you're on the phone or you're going for a walk and they're talking, and it might just sound that they're doing a lot of complaining. And your reaction might be to say, well, you should do this and you should do that, or you shouldn't feel this way about it. You should think about it in a different way, or you should feel like this. You should feel happy, like it's not that bad. That might not be helpful in the moment. And if you have advice, all of your ideas and advice might be really good, but what the person needs from you first is validation, as you were mentioning. You don't have to agree, you don't have to feel the same way, but all you have to do is say, okay, you know what, that sounds really hard. I understand why you feel that way. I can understand why you're feeling so happy, why you're feeling so scared. I can understand why you're so sad about that. That must have been really awful to go through that situation. You're kind of just, it sounds really simplistic, but you're kind of just repeating back the emotions that the person is expressing. And you're saying something to show that you heard and you understood what that person is feeling. And then you can also take the pressure off of yourself to come up with something that's going to change how they feel. You don't need to figure out something that is going to make them feel better just by saying it. All you have to do is listen and provide some support and some empathy and show that you understand how they felt. And then later on, like, you know, after you've given that, they might say, okay, well, so I appreciate that. Like, so what do you think I should actually do? And then you can go into advice, or then you can talk about how you would feel in that situation. But you need to give them space first.
Yeah. Wow, very interesting. Well, we're going to just take a very quick break, and we have some advertisement that we need to play. So let's just have a 1-2 minute break, and then we'll be right back in a second.
This program is proudly brought to you by Nefertiti 24K Gold Soap. Jabari Design Watches. And Nefertari Beauty.
Thank you so much for being patient with us. So we are just back. So I think all of you who are watching us, you are enjoying this particular discussion, which is very, very important. So I saw in your intro, you were kind of, if I can remember, involved into the Black community in Winnipeg. Can you, about mental health, raising mental health? Can you just tell us a little bit about what you do? Because it's very interesting. That is my my career too. Mental health is something that is being neglected and all those kind of stuff. But if we can understand how to take care of ourselves mentally, this world will be the best place to live. Because the truth is, our mental health is the most important things that we need to care for. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you do with our Black communities in Winnipeg?
Yes, the group that was mentioned in the bio introduction was called Project Heal, which was I guess you could call it a support group or a discussion group that I co-facilitated twice. I was involved for the second and third times that it was offered in Winnipeg. The first time was, I think, in 2018, and then 2020, and then 2022, I believe, which was a group open to all Black Winnipeggers. We met in person, we met online the first time, and then in person the second time. And that was to offer people the chance to discuss issues related to mental health and also issues about Black identity, and then talking about how those two intersect.
Okay.
So we had general discussions about the topics of anxiety, depression, trauma, mental health care, wellness and well-being, and then also specific issues like dealing with racism in the workplace. We had a really interesting session on self-care for Black activists or people doing activism in general. Talking about like just the various ways that Black identity informs our experience or affects our experience of mental health, and how we can care for ourselves, and like some of the specific things that we as Black people need in order to care for our mental health. So that was really interesting. A lot of really interesting discussions, and like I said, I co-facilitated that, but we also had several guest speakers, so other therapists and other wellness and health practitioners were involved in that as well.
Okay.
Very interesting. I think maybe in the future, if everything goes well, like even on this topic of therapists, we didn't need to bring it into the our African community, actually to sit down together like in a workshop and hear directly from them what they think and what is preventing them from seeking for help when it is needed. Because the truth is, there are so many situations could have been resolved if we really understand that it's okay for us to be able to seek for a therapist. It's okay when you don't get it all together. It's okay that you are missing a point. You know, there is nothing wrong that, that you may not have the same feeling to your partner. It's okay, nothing wrong with that. But it is very important that it get discussed in a place whereby you feel comfortable, even though when you have to separate. I have seen people who separate peacefully.
Yes.
When they allow themselves to express their feeling, their emotion toward each other. Sometimes they can happen whereby you don't really feel attracted to your partner anymore as a result of A, B, C, D. But can people be honest with themselves and they allow themselves to express and say this is what is going on, other than living in a marriage that joy, peace is not there. You are just there existing because our culture said you should be in the marriage, and you are there as a masking.
Yes.
There's one thing that my daughter says. We're talking about anxiety and depression. Say, Mom, most of people, they are masking. You see them, you think everything is okay, but they are just under the mask. Then I was telling her, say, baby, if you can if you can mask it enough and keep it together, that means you have got the good coping skills to keep it together. If you can mask it and you're still functional, you are still, doing everything the way you do. So that's what we call mental health. When you are mentally healthy, you can still function. Despite that, there is storms and mountain going on around you, you can still function. So then I was like, that's actually everybody. I was like, Mom, everybody have anxiety. Everybody have depression. Is that true?
I would say we all have symptoms or we all have feelings of anxiety sometimes. We all have feelings of depression sometimes. But that doesn't mean that everybody would meet the criteria for a diagnosis.
Yeah, exactly.
And that, again, stress is an inevitable part of
our life,
of being human. But I think when we are overwhelmed by feelings of anxiety, when we're overwhelmed by feelings of depression, when we can't function, that's a different story. And that might be just that we're dealing with an extremely difficult situation, and then as things as time passes and maybe things settle, then we might start to return to our kind of normal, our previous way of functioning that we're used to. Or it might be a chronic issue that, that might be really difficult to deal with on an ongoing basis. That person might benefit from medication. Not everybody dealing with anxiety or depression, has to or should take medication. That's a very personal choice. But sometimes that is kind of like a chronic condition that somebody lives with and deals with for their whole life. And sometimes it might just be something that happens in response to an event, like a death, for example. Grief, loss, that can really destabilize us for a while. But getting back to the idea of masking, I think, yes, masking is a coping strategy that I do think that we all use day to day. I think a really basic example, a basic way of understanding the idea of masking is like, how many people do you see in a day, and they all ask you, how are you? And you say, I'm fine.
Yes.
Whereas you might have just had a super upsetting event, or you might be extremely stressed dealing with something, but you're not going to say that to every person who asks you just, hi, how are you? They might not even stop to actually hear your answer. So we say, oh, I'm fine, I'm good, how are you?
Yeah.
That's an example, that's a really basic example of masking. It doesn't mean that, but that doesn't necessarily, it doesn't have to mean that we are like hiding unbearable stress. It doesn't mean that we're barely functioning, that we're barely coping. That's kind of just a social convention of, someone asks you, how are you? You say you're fine. I think the issue is when people really are starting to feel like they can't keep their head above water, they're really struggling, they're having difficulty functioning, they're doing a lot of the things that you mentioned, like drinking, drugs, gambling, whatever the problem is, distraction. If that person is still trying to pretend or make it seem like everything's fine, like nothing's wrong, if they won't acknowledge to anybody else that they're dealing with intense stress, if they don't even want to admit it to themselves, that person, I think, is really at risk of possibly going into a crisis situation. If they're trying to make it look like everything is fine, and if they're avoiding acknowledging how difficult things are, and won't reach out for any help, and won't make any changes in what they're doing, again, like that person is at risk for burnout or a crisis situation or a breakdown. That's somebody who could really benefit with some therapy or some counseling, or even speak to your physician. I think, anybody who is there, who is in a position to help, I think you can reach out to that person.
Wow. Thank you so much, Leslie. I think there's a lot of things we can talk about. Would you please be able to come back again next week on Tuesday?
Yes.
Because what we want to do next week on Tuesday, we will collect many questions. We will be really asking you questions that we have collected from the community from today's show, and we will be answering our questions. And do you have anything else to add?
Nothing. I just want to talk to our audience that if you have any question, type it out. We'll be checking our Facebook. You can send it to Apostle Jerome, to any of us. We'll be glad to give it to our guest. She's coming back next week. So if you are If you don't really know how to write it now, you have a few days to think about it. Put it down, and definitely we will pass it to her, and she's going to address it next week.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Leslie, for coming today. So we are looking
Thank
forward
you.
to have you again next week on Tuesday. And yeah, thank you so much for coming. And I hope everyone that are following us have been learned something. And please find something that you can apply to your life. It's all about you individually. Take a time to go and see for if there's something going on in your mind. It doesn't matter what situation. It can be education, it can be dating, it can be raising up kids. Any challenges, just don't go ahead and make a stupid decision that you are going to regret later. Seek for counseling, because our mind need help sometimes. There's a time where you cannot think, you cannot just get it all together. Seek for counseling. That's why we are here for. So until we see each other again next week on Tuesday, have yourself an amazing evening. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you so much for having me.
Okay. Goodbye.
This program is proudly brought to you by Nefertiti 24K Gold Soap. Jabari Design Watches. And Nefertari Beauty. Everyone needs well-being, good relationship and companionship, good health, financial stability. Everyone need true wellness.
This is another Tuesday, and you know Tuesdays for us is always a good day.
Stay hooked on the True Word Television every Tuesday
Welcome again to the True Wellness Connections.
at 5:30 p.m. Winnipeg or Central Time to join Claudine Cintije.
That heartbreaking situation that you are in right now, it is just for a moment.
Elizabeth Brimoh,
Know your do's and don'ts. Then know the area you want to work on.
and many more well-equipped panelists
Because I never see anybody that waited upon the Lord and God put to shame.
to be educated,
When you study, don't study only for one day in a week and think you've arrived.
equipped,
No one can ever be perfect.
Nobody.
And no one can get it right all the time. We can all mess up.
sharpened,
To be a relaxed woman is more powerful than a talkative.
and empowered towards your true wellness.
You can change yourself. You can change how you see things.
From parenting, educating, health, finances,
When you are facing one issue or the other, the whole of you is involved.
relationships,
Every human being will face situations that they were not expecting.
spiritual,
Jesus said to his disciples, in this world you will have tribulation, so be of good courage.
and day-to-day life matters.
Everything is all about life.
They cut across all topics to make sure you reach the goal of being well.
We talk about homes, education, we talk about children, we talk about marriage.
Different topics, different guests.
If we must deal with challenges and vulnerabilities, especially vulnerabilities, we have to deal with pain.
The True Wellness Connections, every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. Winnipeg or Central Time with Claudine Cintije and Elizabeth Brimoh
We would be glad to have you with us.
on the True Word Television. Don't dare miss an episode. You are watching the True Word Television, spreading the true word of salvation. You are watching the True Word Television, spreading the true word of salvation.
I know that I don't deserve to be in your presence tonight, but all I can do is avail myself. True, I know that I've messed up so much, a lot of mistakes made, but all I can do is humble myself. Cause you say, as come as you are, I've come as I am, to nobody else but you. And if you can use anything, Lord, cause you can use anything, please God, here I am. So use me now, today I come, I'm available, I'm available, cause you are able to use me now, today you come, I'm available, I'm available, cause you are able. Here I am back to you, here I am once again, Lord, I'm available. I leave my past behind, I choose to follow you, I choose to live for you, Lord, I choose to do your will. Cause you say, just come as you are, I've come as I am, to nobody else but you. And then if you can use anything, Lord, cause you can use anything, please God, here I am, Lord. So use me now, today you come, I'm available, I'm available, I'm available, yes you are, cause you are able, oh, to use me now, I sing, I'm available, I'm available, I'm available, yes you are, cause you are able. Whoa, my heart, my soul, my mind, all of me, I give myself away, away to you, Lord. With everything of mine, I surrender all now to you, Lord. Yes, I give myself away, away to you, Lord. Oh, it all belongs, it all belongs, it all belongs to you. My heart, my life, my everything, it all belongs, it all belongs to you. Hallelujah. Somebody lift up your voice. Let's sing. Everyone, I'm available. Yes, God, I'm available. Here I am, Lord, cause you are able. From the bottom of your hearts, let's sing together louder. I'm available, I'm available, oh, here I am. Let's take it to another level, everyone say, hear me now, oh yeah. I'm available, I'm available, here I am, oh yeah. Don't pass me by today, I'm available, here I am, because you are able. Bless me now, touch me now, heal me now, forgive me now, believe for me, oh yes you are. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you do, what you did yesterday. All you want from me is your heart, your mind, your soul, everything about you. Our God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all you could ask or even think. with the power that works within us. Just tell him, Lord, I'm available, Jesus.
I'm available. I'm available.
Hallelujah.
'Cause you are able.
You are watching the True Word Television, spreading the true word of salvation.